3 more law enforcement officers have been shot today, this time at a courthouse in southwestern Michigan. 2 are dead. The shooter has been killed as well.
The shooting started in the middle of the afternoon at the Berrien County Courthouse, about 100 miles northeast of Chicago. Sheriff Paul Bailey broke the grim news.
About 2:25, we had a disturbance on the 3rd floor of the courthouse. A person has shot 2 bailiffs. They're both deceased.
Just 4 days after the Dallas shooting, the country's nerves scraped raw. At least 2 more law enforcement officers were dead, and another was fighting for his life. A county official says this time the shooter was an inmate being taken to the county jail when he grabbed the bailiff's gun and started shooting. At least 1 sheriff's deputy was injured and transported to the hospital. There are reports that several civilians were hit as well before other officers stopped the rampage.
The suspect has been shot and killed.
Michigan State Police is handling the investigation. Meantime, the injured deputy and civilians are being treated at Lakeland Medical Center here in St. Joseph. Scott, right now there's no official word on their condition.
Racial tension is bubbling in the United States following the string of high-profile shootings there. Major U.S. cities have been seeing mass protests as President Barack Obama is set to travel to Dallas to pay his respects to the 5 police officers shot dead in the city last week.
The tension has never been higher. To some, protesters from the Black Lives Matter movement, the cause is about policing, not the police.
Just because we're Black Lives Matter does not mean we're anti-police, and just because we're against anti-police brutality.
President Obama, who cut short his trip to Europe, is planning to visit Dallas on Tuesday, where 5 police officers were killed last Thursday by a lone gunman during a peaceful demonstration. But violent incidents between police and civilians have been reported across the country. In Detroit, 4 men have been detained over Facebook posts in which they urged people to kill white officers in the wake of the Dallas ambush. One of them wrote, quote, "All lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. Kill all white cops," and even praised Micah Johnson, the Dallas shooter. On Saturday, Houston police shot and killed a man for not complying to an order to lower his weapon, which he was pointing at the police. However, according to the Boston Globe, some people say surveillance video from a nearby gas station shows the man had his hands up before being shot, prompting calls for a deeper investigation.
Dallas police face questions over the way they took out the suspect in Thursday's ambush. Police sent a robot armed with explosives to kill the gunman. Other departments with similar capabilities are being criticized for using devices described as military-style hardware. Chris Van Cleve is in Rockville, Maryland, where officers are training with a robot similar to the one in Dallas. Chris, good morning.
Well, good morning. Bomb squads will tell you these robots can do pretty much anything a person can do. They can go upstairs. They have cameras. They have speakers so that they can communicate. They also have these arms, and those arms would typically be used to investigate a suspicious package, but some police departments have used them to do things like deliver tear gas to subdue a suspect. But for a police department to use a robot to kill, that was unprecedented.
Ask him, do you want to come out safely? Or do you want to stay there and we're going to take you down? And he chose the latter.
Last June, Dallas police used a similar bomb disposal robot to detonate pipe bombs inside a suspect's van. Models like it can use explosives, a water cannon, or high-powered air to disrupt suspicious devices. The Montgomery County, Maryland Fire and Rescue Department operates one of several bomb squads in the Washington, D.C. region. Chief Scott Goldstein. Do you feel like these things save lives?
These things clearly save lives. It can be repaired. It can be replaced. Can't replace a highly trained and experienced, member of the squad.
But critics say robots like these were designed for military combat.
It raises a lot of concern about the increased weaponization of robots that the police use.
Peter Asaro is with the International Committee for Robot Arms Control.
Once I think police departments have these kinds of weapons in their arsenal, it provides an opportunity to use it in a lot of different kinds of scenarios.
Timing is eerie in relation to the Dallas shootings, but they add incidents like that show just how important active shooter trainings can be.
The Fountain Police Department wrapped up a 3-day exercise today. Fox 1's Christina DeWitowitz tells us why getting multiple agencies together is so important.
7 different military and law enforcement jurisdictions in the region took part in a 3-day active shooter exercise. It's the first large-scale drill and the first time all emergency services were included.
You can train for the last 2 days, but when it's game day and you're standing out here, and I had my police sergeant respond who did a great job, but I could look on his face and he felt it was real.
It's why police have to look at all recent shootings across the country and learn from them.
When we looked at Dallas, Orlando, several other incidents, the use of explosive devices or IEDs, today we incorporated those in the training scenario that we faced.
Training was held at Welty Education Center with more than 40 volunteers.
We're evaluating what is our process, how can we support the PD, how can we account for students, how can we make sure the school is locked down safely, that students are evacuated safely.
It's why police officials say trainings need to be kept as real as possible.
Our plans have to be dynamic, and this is really where it comes down to training and leadership. Because at the end of the day, the plan is not going to survive the plan. It's going to be different. And leaders on the ground, young leaders, have to be able to make decisions very rapidly to save lives. And that's what we're trying to train for.
Today, an alarming new evidence of an E. coli bacteria that is genetically resistant to a last resort antibiotic. Study authors say there may be an even higher chance of having outbreaks from E. coli bacteria that are totally resistant to antibiotics. The CDC is planning to establish 7 regional laboratories that will be able to do better and faster testing.
This was the aftermath of a 9.0 magnitude earthquake that shook Japan back in 2011. That quake and subsequent tsunami killed 22,000 people and caused $300 billion in damage. Now experts warn this could happen again, but in a different part of the world. Researchers have identified a hidden fault beneath Bangladesh and parts of East India and Myanmar. New GPS data indicates a megaquake, an earthquake with a magnitude 8.2 to 9.0 could strike the region. An earthquake that strong would be incredibly devastating. According to Live Science, researchers estimate about 140 million people live within 60 miles of the fault. The caveat here, and in lots of other earthquake studies, is it's really hard to predict when the fault may trigger a quake. A seismologist in Dhaka, Bangladesh, told National Geographic they are preparing for an earthquake, though the process is slow.
What a weekend across the northern Rockies. This is not file footage, guys. This is fresh powder. Yeah, we even had enough to make a snowman. This is above 10,000 feet at Yellowstone National Park, but mighty impressive. That's a good-looking snowman, in my opinion. Well, we certainly saw that colder air rushing in, and we tried to give you plenty of advance notice that this was going to be the case as we went from Sunday into Monday. Temperatures running 20 to 25 degrees cooler than average. The cold air has continued to filter in, and we've still got some additional snowfall that's going to be around through Wednesday. Not too much more, and again, mostly for the elevations well above 6,500 feet. But keep in mind that we have had some road closures as a result of those icy roads.
A pilot's nightmare, flying blind after hailstones smashed the cockpit windows. It happened on a China Southern flight from Hong Kong to Chengdu Airport in Sichuan. The hailstorm exploded as the plane approached the airport. Not only were the windows smashed, but hailstones also punctured the nose cone. The plane managed to land safely, and no one was injured.
Residents near Mobile Bay woke up to a strange surprise yesterday. Dozens of baby bull sharks dead and washed up on shore. And now wildlife officials are investigating.
It's not something you see every day. A baby bull shark on shore dead and covered with flies. A few feet up are 2 more hidden in the grass. These are the only sharks we saw on this small beach today, but yesterday it looked like this.
We're horrified, not expecting something like that. Probably all about this size, about 2 to 3 feet, and they were just all piled along the beach here.
Sabrina Rios and her husband are still in shock.
The smell was overwhelming, and so our 2 older boys took a shovel over
and tried to dig holes and bury them.
Biologists with the Dolphin Island Sea Lab collected 57 baby bull sharks yesterday, which they will autopsy and then use for research. It's a sad day for these baby sharks, but officials say 57 is only a small portion out of Mobile Bay. As we await the official autopsy results, we're told this area will be patrolled more closely from now on.
The United States says North Korea's threat against the deployment of the THAAD defense system proves that the decision was the right one. A statement out of the Pentagon came a matter of hours after Pyongyang threatened to take a physical counteraction against the deployment, calling it a decision aimed at invading the North. Pentagon spokesman Commander Gary Ross said such threats only confirm the prudence of Seoul and Washington's decision. He added that the U.S. will continue to ensure its defense posture remains capable of deterring conflict and defending the U.S. and its armed forces.
North Korea says it will completely shut off its channels of contact with the U.S. The state-run Korean Central News Agency said Monday that North Korea's mission to the United Nations sent a message on the matter to the U.S. on Sunday, referring to the so-called New York Channel. That's been practically the only communication channel between Pyongyang and Washington. According to the KCNA, the decision comes on the heels of Washington's latest sanctions on North Korea. Last week, the U.S. issued sanctions on the North's grave human rights violation, which targets the regime's leader, Kim Jong-un himself. Pyongyang had warned Washington to cancel the decision immediately.
Researchers in Israel have made what they say is the first discovery of a Philistine cemetery. Expedition leaders say they discovered 155 sets of remains in several burial rooms, some surrounded by perfume, food, jewelry, and weapons. The remains date to between the 11th and 8th centuries BC. The Philistines appear in the Bible as the arch-enemy of the ancient Israelites.
Well, one of the things that we know from the Hebrew Bible is that the Philistines were looked down upon by the Israelites. They were thought to be the worst of the worst. They were the uncircumcised. And so everything that you didn't want to be, that's what a Philistine was. And that's what their enemies said about them. Well, now we get a chance to hear their side of the story.
The discovery may yield answers to an enduring mystery surrounding the origins of the Philistines.